Hey there, my name is Alex, I am the Silver Mont, and this video is a guide for all the level 70 trials in Final Fantasy XIV. All of these Stormblood trials, and think of this as a quick cheat sheet. I'm not going to go in depth on every fight's every mechanic. I'm just going to tell you what you need to know, the most important parts. There are time codes on screen now if you want to skip to a specific fight. I will only be covering the first version of every fight, what the game calls hard, the standard encounters, not the extreme versions. That out of the way, let's get started. And we start off Stormblood with one of the hardest hitting bosses out there, Susano. During the first phase, he will knock players back and then plant stack markers on them. The player being knocked back should of course run back to the rest of the group. In phase 2, an item will spawn near the centre of the arena. Main tank should grab this and will then need to mash buttons to keep everyone alive, whilst the rest of the group damages the sword and the off tank runs around the edge of the arena, collecting the orbs that spawn on the perimeter, stopping them from damaging the group. Finally, in phase 3, he'll start using his tank buster, Storm Splitter. Use your mitigation as required if you're tanking it. He'll also use a shell game mechanic wherein he puts one player in a rock or cup, then swaps it around with two other rocks. You just need to destroy the rock that the player is trapped in. Marking it can help. Other than this, he has some standard AoEs, and to mention once more, Susano's auto attacks hit very hard. Phase 1 involves dealing with two adds and nothing special, but you'll see blue orbs spawning throughout the fight. Collect one of these orbs and you'll be able to use the duty action Vril. After the adds are dealt with, Lakshmi will start to engage the group before leaving the arena around 75% health. It's at this point you should first use your duty action to avoid being killed. Lakshmi will also cast two circle AoEs, typically on the healers. These should be placed at the back of the arena. She also has an attack where she targets a few players with a plus-shaped ability, which should of course be placed in such a way as to leave a safe space. When Lakshmi teleports to the centre of the arena and casts Divine Denial, use your Vril duty action to avoid being pushed off the edge. Other than that, just standard AoEs and stack markers. Upon release, some players found the Royal Menagerie far too hard, but although there's a few mechanics to keep track of, it is a fun and well-balanced fight. These days goes by very quickly too, thanks to the high item levels. When the fight starts, you'll notice Shinryu charges his Corrupted Ether Bar. This can lead to various attacks, each having its own counter. Tidal Wave means you must run towards the water to avoid being pushed off the edge, or you can use Arm's Length, Surecast, etc. For Hellfire, you just need to stand in a pool of water to mitigate the damage. For Judgment Bolt, do the opposite, make sure you aren't standing in water. Later in the fight you'll also have Aerial Blast, which spawns a huge tornado in the centre that frequently does knockback. Just stay close to the edge of the tornado. Diamond Dust makes the arena floor slippery, so take care not to move if you can help it. Earthen Fury is largely irrelevant these days, it just threatens to shatter the panels, but you're not very likely to see it. Shinryu has a lot of AoEs, watch out for the cone ones and be sure to leave a safe spot if they target you. Once you reach the add phase, each of them will spawn in with a meteor that deals damage. Move away from them until they've fallen to mitigate the damage taken. Once the adds are dealt with, Shinryu will chain up the party, so be prepared to button mash your way out to avoid death. Then in the new arena, Shinryu can target the blue panels and destroy them. Two attacks will destroy them by slamming his tail onto them. However, once his tail has slammed down, you can break it and deal incredible damage to the boss, so make the tail your priority whenever it spawns. The dark center panels in the middle are unbreakable. It might seem like a very complicated fight the first time you go into it, but most of it is very intuitive, so good luck. My favourite fight in 14, Tsukuyomi's Tank Buster, Torment Unto Death, is a cone-shaped tank buster, so it is important you remain behind her unless you are the main tank. She also has an attack where she spawns fans around the edge of the arena. If you see where the first one spawns, the last one will always spawn next to it, so that is the best place to stand. For For example, if the first fan is at 12 o'clock, stand at 11, wait for 12 o'clock to detonate, then you can move to 12 o'clock. Aside from spawning 2 clouds that slowly move to the centre that you should take out ASAP, Phase 1 has nothing else noteworthy. Phase 2 is a simple ad phase where you just need to defeat the ads immediately. Then in Phase 3, the boss will split the arena in half with her Selenomancy moon magic. Standing on the floor gives you a stacking debuff. If you move to the other half, it will reset the stack and start over. Make sure you swap from side to side so that you don't reach 5 stacks. She will also cast AoEs during this, so it's good to swap around 3 or 4 stacks to ensure you have wiggle room to make sure you aren't stuck on one side whilst an AoE is going off. Her Lunacy stack marker is a multi-hit, so make sure you remain still in the stack marker until the last hit has subsided. I believe there's 3 hits altogether. She will also combine her fans on the edge of the arena attack with a stack marker in this last phase. One of the more unique fights in the game. If you've played Monster Hunter, well, you're gonna know what to do here. Almost all of Rathalos' attacks are random and can be avoided for the most part. There's no real auto-attacks, so to speak, there's no aggro. Rathalos can spin, lunge forward, charge, use fireballs. After seeing it once or twice, you should have no trouble avoiding future attacks. Just be aware that they aren't really marked with, AoE markers, as many of the game's mechanics are. You have to go more by visual cues, as you would in actual Monster Hunter. At around 80% health or so, ads will join Rathalos. It's worth pointing out these can hurt the boss and vice versa. Then at 70% health, a Garula will knock down the boss. Defeat the Garula whilst one player clicks on the icon near the head of the boss to mount Rathalos, keeping him distracted. The reason you are mounting him is because after he's knocked down by the Garula, after a short amount of time, Rathalos will fly out of the arena and kill everyone. So you can kill the Garula before he does that. The reason you have a player mount him is to keep him from leaving the arena earlier. Once Garula has been killed, hide behind its body to survive the fireball that Rathalos unleashes. Then the final phase begins. During this phase, you cannot heal as normal, only by using the Mega Potion duty action. Whilst healing doesn't work, shields still do. So if you're a Dark Knight, Blackest Night will be handy here. Rathalos will fly around the arena now and use stack markers. These leave lingering fire, so if you can, placing them near the edge of the arena is best to leave yourself lots of room. Healers can remove the burning damage over time with a stunner. Every time you hit Rathalos during this phase, it will build up a meter. Once the meter is full, he will collapse to the ground, wherein you can shatter his tail. Then he'll fly again, so repeat. The meter is not damage based, but action based, so it's important to keep on hitting Rathalos as much as you can during his flying phase. Keep knocking him down until he dies. Only when he's on the ground will he be vulnerable to damage. Heavenly Strike is Byakko's tank buster. State of Shock is a stack marker with a twist. He'll throw the targeted player across the arena. The team will need to stand in that location to, well, catch the targeted player, I suppose. He also has various AoEs, including one where he'll shoot out orbs from the centre of the arena, like a bullet hell without the hell part. Bullet inconvenience. When the tiger appears, a tank must grab it, point it away from the group to spare them being cleaved. Then during the transition phase, just avoid the orbs as best as you can. Don't go too far from the centre or you'll die. Now and then you'll need to group up in the centre to avoid a large AoE that hits around the perimeter. The final phase is virtually identical to the first, with just a few extra AoEs, but nothing really noteworthy. The boss does have a habit of moving rapidly and then doing almost arena-wide attacks, so if you have movement abilities such as a charge or the dancer's ability to dash, you probably want to save those for these situations. Welcome to Dance Dance Revolution. Fun fact, this boss's theme song is sung by the boss, who is also the voice actor of Krill, in the Japanese dub that is, of course. Cremate is her tank buster for phase 1. Kill the birds that appear, gather them up into the middle and defeat them. Then plumes will appear like phoenix down, feathers. kill one, such as the center one, to create a safe zone. Any birds that are hit by these exploding phoenix down, well, they will be reborn. So that's why you gather them all into the middle and then destroy the middle phoenix down. When the boss creates 8 circles around the center, one player must stand in each circle, then watch the arrow that appears. Face in that direction whilst an orb travels past them. You know, just like DDR. Each orb the party gathers correctly grants a damage buff, whereas incorrect ones will power up the boss's incoming super attack. After she uses it, the center of the platform will fall out, directly beneath the boss, so don't stand there. In this last phase, Suzaku's Tank Buster changes to Phantom Flurry, a rapid kick combo followed up by a massive AoE in the direction of the tank. So the tank will need to move quickly to get out from in front of her. The main thing to look out for now would be the Phoenix on the edge of the arena, and the large runes. Each rune will be paired with a matching one on the arena floor. When the Phoenix touches the floating rune, that corresponding part of the arena will explode. Say there was an X-shaped rune, for example, and there's an X shape on the floor. When the Phoenix touches the X in the air, the one on the floor will explode, so don't be standing there. Keep an eye on the Phoenix and move accordingly. The second time this is used, there'll be more runes, so you'll need to move faster to boot. The final of the 4 lords, Seiryu's Tank Buster, is called Infirm Soul. He also has 2 teleport attacks, which determined by the symbol beneath the boss as he teleports. So for example, if you see the Yin Yang rune, then you move away from the boss. If you see a sort of Ouroboros rune, move close to the boss. Seiryu is able to summon familiars. If you are tethered by one, drag it so that it's facing the outside of the arena. If he summons the giant head familiars, these will explode when killed. You should be able to withstand it these days, even if you kill them together, but the idea is you kill them one at a time, spaced out, so they don't explode at the same time. Whereas in the final phase, he can summon a giant who slams down on the arena. Just move away from his hand. If his right hand is slamming down, well, move to the opposite side. Whereas the snakes will push you around the arena. Move accordingly so you aren't dunked in the water. Goes without saying, if you are in the water, get out immediately. Don't worry, even though Yojimbo uses Zanmato, it's not going to insta-wipe you. It'll just reduce everyone to 1 health. Wakizashi is his Tank Buster. If you see him using Tiny Song to mark everyone with red arrows, everyone should group up. You must stack with at least 1 other arrow to avoid it. When he starts charging up his ultimate attack and summons 2 mini versions of himself, 1 tank should take each of them and you should burn them down ASAP. In the final phase, watch out for Electrogenetic Force, which spawns a grid of orbs. The only safe spot is near where the boss landed earlier. Aside from various AoEs and attacks, similar to Susano's, watch out for Enchain, which is used on 4 players. If he's using this on you, make some distance from the boss. If you aren't chained, make sure you destroy the chains ASAP. Anyone still chained will die when the boss unleashes his next attack. And that is it for Stormblood, meaning we've just got Shadowbringers to go. And all the future expansions, I suppose. But until then, thank you so much for watching. I hope this guide was useful. Ciao.